All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of the California Department of Veterans Affairs and the California Transition Assistance Program, and in partnership today with Crafton Hills College, we'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, talking about our CalVet Home Loans Program. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Derek Rose, and I serve as a training coordinator for our CalTAP program. We have a lot of great information to share with you today regarding home ownership here in the state of California, using your VA benefit for home ownership and additional resources as well. So let's go ahead and push forward and begin. Before we get started, just some general housekeeping items. We do ask that if you are not a speaker or a panelist for today's presentation to please keep your cameras off and microphones muted during the presentation. This just helps eliminate some of the bandwidth and eliminate some of the distractions as well for the rest of the group. As far as introductions go, again, my name is Derek Rose. I'm joined by my colleague, Jana Adams, who is monitoring our Q&A and our chat features as well. And we're also honored to have our CalVet Home Loans Program representative, Mr. Brad Pedersen, who's going to speak and all things related to our CalVet Home Loans Program. So he has a lot of great information to share with you today. So excited and thankful for Brad to join us as well. After Brad's conclusion of his presentation, I'm going to speak about our California Transition Assistance Program and some of the benefits and services that are offered to veterans and their family members here in the state of California, and just kind of do a benefits overview of just some of the benefits here in the state. And we're also joined by our local interagency network coordinator from the Inland Empire, Marlene Steinbeck, who is a great resource for all things related to VA benefits and VA resources within the Inland Empire. So she's also going to speak about some of the work that she does regionally. After we get done with our presentation, we'll allow some time to kind of go over some questions that you may have. And we ask if you do have questions to please utilize that Q&A feature. Should be right there on the bottom of your toolbar. Please use that to submit your questions. My colleague Jana is going to be using the chat feature just to send some links and resources kind of as we're going along. But if you have specific questions, please type those in, and that'll allow all of us to be able to see those questions and answer them accordingly. All right, so at this time, we'd like to just go ahead and get started with the overview of our CalVet Home Loan Program. I'd like to introduce Brad Pedersen. He is our CalVet Home Loans Program rep, and he's going to tell you about all the great work that he does there. So Brad, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Derek. Hey, I'm actually really excited to be here. And I've learned that if I start off my conversation with you about the history of CalVet home loans, everything else sort of makes sense. So I want to give you a 1-minute history lesson to start. The year was 1921. And what was happening in 1921 is all of our service members were coming home from World War I. Now, the population of California at that time, the government of California at that time, everybody was so patriotic. They were so excited to greet these service members. So the state government said, hey, what could we do as a state? What could California do as a state to just say thank you to our veterans? So in 1921, they kind of looked at the demographics and they started the California Farm and Home Loan Program. A lot of farm boys had went off. Now, if you fast forward from there to about 1943, that's when we became one of the branches in the California Department of Veterans Affairs. And our name sort of morphed to CalVet Home Loans over the years. But what I really love is if I were to take you up to our main office building across from the Capitol in Sacramento, and I take you up on the second floor, to this day, there's still a placard there that says Farm and Home Loan. And I like that story because it sort of sets the table for us and it points out a few things. Number one, our name in of itself, Farm and Home Loan, tells you there's more than one type of loan that we do. We do all kinds of loans. People tend to think there's just two choices when it comes to veteran loans. They think I'm either going to get a federal VA loan or I'm going to get a CalVet state loan. And that's not really true. There's all kinds of loans that we do. We do mobile homes loans in parks. We do a very interesting loan on mobile homes or modular homes on land in a permanent-like manner. We even do construction loans where you can build your own home. That's a different program, requires a down payment. We do refinance loans. We do rehabilitation loans. We do low-income housing loans. We do all kinds of loans. And today I'm going to focus on my favorite loan a little bit later. The other thing about that history that I like to point out is that we're over 100 years old. We kind of have figured out and understand this process of working with veteran families to get them into homes. It's not new to us. We understand the paperwork, we understand the lifestyle, we understand what you're going through, and we try our very best to have empathy and help you get through this process. I like to also tell people that, knowing about CalVet home loans isn't always something for today. This might be information that you need for the future, or information that you can give to a friend or a relative who's thinking of buying a home or refinancing. Maybe they don't even know about us. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. One of the things that kind of worries me about our program is we're 100 years old. So there's lots of information on the internet that's outdated. And one of those things that is very concerning to me is at one time, you had to enter your service life from the state of California to be eligible to apply for a CalVet home loan. But that is no longer the case. Today, anybody who entered service anywhere in the world, who is serving anywhere in the world, who is a veteran from another state, everybody can apply for the loan. You're going to need to qualify. You're going to have all the credentials, and you'll have to be able to qualify for the loan. But everybody can apply. I'm really concerned that a lot of people think they can't even apply because they entered their service life in another state, Michigan, Tennessee, something like that. And so they don't even try. And that's very concerning because we tend to be pretty flexible. We know that a lot of our people who we end up funding loans for every month have been told no by one or two lenders before they get to us. Next slide, please. So the number one question that I get everywhere I go, and I've answered this well over 1,000 times, is what's the difference, Brad, between the federal VA home loan and the CalVet home loan? And if I'm sitting talking with somebody for a while, they might just say, well, which is better, right? And I've answered this so many times that I kind of came up with one answer that seems to resonate with most people. And I also think it's one that I could teach you so you can explain this to somebody else, which I really could use the help, okay? So here's what I do. Whenever anybody asks me, hey, Brad, what's the difference between the CalVet loan and the VA loan? Here's what I do. I hold up a hand and I say, look, when we're talking about the federal VA home loan, federal VA, it's really important that you understand federal VA doesn't actually loan the money. What federal VA does is they issue a loan guarantee. Now, that's kind of like an insurance policy that they'll give to any lender who wants to make a federal guaranteed VA home loan. And I always stop here and I say the same thing. I say, I love the federal VA home loan program. Everybody who's listening to my voice right now probably should put this in the top of what I call your toolbox for home ownership for the rest of your life. Every time you're thinking of purchasing a property, every time you're thinking of refinancing a property, I think you should pull that federal VA home loan out and see, is this the best loan for me for what I'm trying to do right now? It's a fantastic loan program. I support it 100%. Now, with that being said, who's CalVet? Well, CalVet, as I kind of gave you a small history, is actually the state of California acting like a lender for the benefit of our veteran. We've been around over 100 years, and we have all kinds of loan programs like I laid out to you. But my favorite loan program that is really misunderstood and people just don't understand how we can do this is we do this very unique thing that only CalVet can do. No one else can do this, only CalVet. We can take the federal VA home loan benefit that I love, and we can fund it through the state of California. Now, when we do that, something very unique happens. You get a federal VA guaranteed loan funded by the state of California. You're essentially kind of double dipping. You're getting federal and state benefits put together into one loan. Somebody once said to me, it's like a VA loan on steroids then, and I kind of like that because it sort of is. I find that the state of California has what I call a bucket of benefits for veterans. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Now, I think honestly, just my opinion, they don't want you to move out of the state. They want you to stay here. They think you're going to be a good neighbor. I agree. So they put all this stuff together and say, hey, stay in the state. You get this, you get that, you get this. And there's a lot of fantastic benefits. Now, when it comes to the home loan program, there's a lot of benefits in there that you can't get anywhere else. Some of them maybe you won't be interested in, maybe you wouldn't even like them, but there's others that could be extremely valuable in there. And I think it's very important to look at your options. Next slide, please. So if we were together talking about this, you probably would say, well, what's in that bucket of benefit? What do I get, you know? And there's a lot of stuff, like I said, but I think one of the things to talk about right up front is how we do the process up front. How does this start? How does it work? You see, Calvet is different from most lenders out there. 98, 99% of lenders today probably do the same basic thing. They take an 8-page loan application that's called a 1003 loan application. They hand it to you and you fill that out. Then you hand it back to your lender and they type it into a computer, a desktop computer. When they're done, they hit enter and the computer runs that application through a series of reviews and checks. And at the end, the computer spits out an answer. It's commonly called a desktop underwriting decision. Computer sort of does it. Now, one of the ways that I kind of know someone's probably been through that system and not been successful is I get the phone call and it starts something like this. They'll say, hey, Brad, what's your minimum FICO score? That's one of the limiters that's in that computer typically. Most lenders today, I understand, are looking for about a 620 FICO. I get to tell the caller, Calvet doesn't actually have a minimum FICO score. And then right away I say, but that doesn't mean you can have horrible credit. No, what it means is we do this process differently. You see, every single application that comes into Calvet, a real live human being is going to open it up and look at it. They're going to talk to you about it. They're going to chat with you. If they have a question, they're going to open up the credit report and they might see that you've got I see you've got a 578 FICO score. They're not going to ask you about the score necessarily. They're going to say, it looks like you had a credit event that happened 3 years ago. Tell me about that. And you might say, oh, I lost my job. I broke my leg. I had an operation, got a divorce. They understand that everybody hits a wall in life. We're not so concerned that you hit that wall, that you had some obstacle put out in front of you. What we want to know is that you got over the obstacle and you're running again, that you're moving forward. We're going to look at your payment stream. Have you made all your consumer payments on time for at least 12 months? That's kind of our minimum standard usually. If we can see someone has made all their payments on time for at least 12 months, they've got a shot, even if they've got a very low FICO. If I can see 24 months of all consumer credit paid on time and you still have a low FICO, I probably would consider most files in that situation very good credit because you figured it out. You showed us. You know, maybe that FICO algorithm isn't taking into consideration the actual work you've put out. We're not going to hold that against you as far as your pre-approval for a loan. Next slide, please. Another area that we do something that's unique, it's different. I don't know of anyone else who does it. Other people could do this, but I don't know of anybody stepping up to the plate. You see, if you had a short sale or a foreclosure, or actually mathematically, it works out kind of the same way. If you own a rental property with a VA loan on it, or you're living in a property with a VA loan on it, and you want to buy another property, basically those 4 situations all come out the same way. If you went to the bank on the corner and said, hey, I have a short sale, foreclosure, a rental property, or I'm living in a property with a VA loan, but I'd like to get another property that I'm going to live in with my VA. Is there anything I can do? What they're going to do is they're going to pull your certificate of eligibility entitlement. There's going to be a number on there. And that number is basically the amount that was paid out on your behalf on a short sale or a foreclosure, or the amount that's actively in use of that insurance policy I talked about on your rental property or your current residence. And then they'll do some math, which is kind of funky, but at the end of the math problem, they typically will say something like this to you, and I'm just going to use a round number. They might say to you, based on your partial remaining entitlement, it looks like if you qualify for the loan, we could go up to $400,000 with zero down payment under the federal VA guidelines, if you qualify. And I find almost always my veterans feel the same way. They're like, oh, I really needed 500,000. I need it more. Is there anything you can do for me? And they have a good answer. What they will say to you is they'll say, well, just the differential between the 400,000 and the 500,000, that 100,000 differential, on that portion, we need a 25% down payment. So in my example, on a $500,000 purchase, they would say, if you qualify, you need to put 25,000 down, and we could issue you a $475,000 loan if you qualify. Now, CalVet does this a little different. We, again, have a human being looking at the file, and they're really going to ask themselves this question. Are they going to default? Do we think this is a good loan? Do we have enough protection in here? And many, many times, CalVet will stand in the gap. What we'll say is, we're going to go ahead and issue you a $500,000 zero down federally guaranteed VA loan for only the first 400. We're going to self-insure for the difference, basically. So you end up getting a VA loan funded through CalVet, getting extra benefits, and stretched entitlement. It's a fantastic loan. We do a lot of these, and these help a lot of people get into properties when they thought they didn't have another shot. Next slide, please. How much do we loan? Well, we'll go as high as $1,437,281 with zero down payment in the high-cost counties of California. Next slide, please. But if you notice, everywhere in California, we'll go up to at least $958,187 with zero down if you qualify. So it depends on the average prices, in the area, what you're going to get as far as a maximum loan amount. But everywhere, if you qualify, you could get up to $958 with zero down payment. Next slide, please. I love to talk about the things CalVet does that's unique and how we're always looking out for the veterans. So I usually try to find somebody else's words to try to communicate what I want to say, that, when you come to CalVet, we're very unique. We basically do the whole ball of wax. We originate the loan, we process the loan, we underwrite the loan, we fund the loan, and then we service the loan for the full 30 years. Your loan is not sold. You're going to stay with CalVet the whole time. That's very important, because if you ever run into one of those walls after you've got your CalVet loan, you're now contacting the California Department of Veterans Affairs and saying, hey, I have a problem making my payment this month. What do I do? And they're going to bend over backwards trying to help you. I've seen it time and time again. Next slide, please. So there's always a letter whenever I talk from somebody. This letter actually is something that's been really common the last year. A veteran goes out and they get pre-approved for a loan or pre-qualified for a loan with a lender. They go shopping for homes. They buy a home, they go into escrow, they pay for their inspection fees, they pay for their appraisal fees. They may give notice where they're renting, they may have the movers already coming, and they find out very close to the time that they're going to close escrow that they no longer qualify for some reason. Sometimes it's like that computer system just doesn't accept them the second time through. And so often we get a call at that point where someone will say, hey, I'm supposed to move in 14 days. I'm supposed to move in 20 days. And all of a sudden I don't have a loan approval. Can you help me? And often we are able to help them because we are able to manually underwrite, which lots of times we'll fix that computer glitch because they probably are still qualified, but there was something that's coming up that, they can't get approved. We often do loans in less than 30 days. I really would prefer if you give us at least 30 days to do your loans because we're very busy right now, but it is possible to do it quicker with us. Next slide, please. One of the big issues this year in real estate is actually insurance. I've been personally attending Zooms from professionals in the insurance industry, trying to hear what they're doing, trying to hear what's going on. I personally got affected by this. I have a rental property in California in an area. I had like insurance with Farmers Insurance for like 20 years, and I got a notice that they could no longer insure me. I would have to switch to the fair plan is what I ended up having to do. And then I had to get a supplemental policy because it was a rental property. That particular property, the insurance monthly like doubled for me, maybe a little more than that, because there's just no options. Insurance companies are pulling out. I talked to somebody on Monday. They were a realtor, and they had sold a property in Oceanside, and they said the insurance was quoted like $10,000 for the year on that property. That's expensive insurance. If you come to Calvet and you fund your loan through Calvet, and it's a single family residence, you're probably going to get our insurance. You don't really have an option to get somebody else's insurance. You're going to get this Calvet policy that covers fire, flood, hazard, and earthquake. And you're going to get it at probably a better rate than that's out there. Now, truthfully, I've been talking about our policy for the last couple of years, and I know that we have to go up in price like everybody else, but I suspect you're going to get a very good price. So I definitely recommend that if you're in the situation where you're having to refinance or you're purchasing, check out your option at Calvet, see what their rate is, see what the insurance policy rate is. You might be really pleasantly surprised. Next slide, please. This is interesting. So I actually kind of stole these emails. The first time I saw them, I sort of got emotional because I really related with this veteran. I mean, it just hit me in the core. Now I've seen him many times, and so I don't have that same emotional feel. But this was during that wildfire stage where all those fires were happening. It was August 17th at 2021 at 9:22 in the morning. What I love about these emails and why I said I have to have them and show them to my audience is that this is actually 3 different branches of Calvet working together in a very short period of time to help a veteran. So this is a veteran at 9:22 in the morning. He's been evacuated. He thinks he's homeless now. It's his 89-year-old mom, his wife, and his 4-year-old. He's calling from an emergency center. He's not calling, he's emailing Marlene's counterpart in Northern California, Cole Wagner, saying, what do I do? Next slide, please. Now it's 10:01, and Cole Wagner, the local interagency network coordinator that Marlene is here, does the same thing, is emailing him back. And I changed his name to veteran on this for privacy. He's telling him, hey, if you need to go to somewhere safe, here's where you go. Once you're safe, here's the insurance number for Calvet Insurance. I've also attached these resources, but the most important line is the bottom one. I'm going to call your phone after I send this to talk you through everything. That's at 10:01. Next slide, please. At 10:17 in the morning, like 15 minutes later, Cole is now emailing the manager of the home warranty, the home protection, the insurance for Calvet. And he says, hey, Steve, heads up, I spoke to this veteran. They're safe. Let me know if there's anything else I can do. Next slide, please. And now it's 11:01. So about 2 hours from the first email, this is an email from Gary Bonin, the loan production operation manager. He's kind of the guy on top of the different division. He is letting Cole know what happened. And he says, hey, Cole, Steve, the manager from the home protection unit, has been in touch with the veteran this morning. Calvet will provide him housing as long as he's evacuated. If his home's a total loss, we'll be with him every step of the way. Thanks for the heads up. My first feeling on this was very emotional because I saw these 3 branches jump in to make this guy feel better, feel comfortable, know that, yeah, you're in a bad situation, but you're not alone. We got your 6. We're going to be there for you. And now as time's gone on and I've seen these over and over, it's just very apparent to me. I don't know why you would want to have another insurance company working with you, because I see this time after time where the insurance company for Calvet is just reaching in and trying to help the veterans, trying to make their lives a little better, trying to help them in this situation. We actually have a thing, the insurance division. I don't work for that division, but I found out that if there's a forest fire, if there's a fire going on somewhere, they actually call out about 5 miles in front of the fire to everybody in the direction. It says, hey, you've got a fire. Here's what you should do. Here's what you should pack. Here's where you should go. Here's the important phone numbers. They try to help them, even give them pre-warning. They do a fantastic job. Next slide, please. Okay, so the fun part for me, I love doing this because it's just refreshing. I should tell you about 2 more Calvet programs, and then I'm going to talk about some other lenders who are doing fantastic things. You see, when I got this job, I went to my superiors and I said, the way I'm reading this, it appears that I'm doing my job if I help a veteran get into a house, even if it's not through Calvet. Is that true? And they said, yeah, that's true. We're here to help veterans. And I said, well, I love that. Can I talk about other lenders, other programs that I think are great? And they said, yeah, go ahead. So I do that. I always try to highlight 1 or 2 programs whenever I get a chance to talk. So I'm going to do that today. But I realized there's 2 programs I didn't tell you about that I should. So I'm going to tell you real fast. These 2 are Calvet programs. Then we're going to go on to something else. Calvet initiated a program about a year ago because we were getting a lot of loans shifted over to us with lots of costs pre-negotiated. And sometimes, we had trouble spending the money, basically. So what we've done now is if somebody has enough money from their negotiation with the seller or in their own bank account, they can buy the interest rate down on their loan 1/4% for 30 years, bought down for 1% upfront of the loan amount. That's a pretty good deal if you're going to stay there for a while. Easy one to figure out. The second program that has been very successful is we figured it was getting harder and harder to get into homes. It was getting harder and harder to negotiate with a seller to pay those closing costs for you. So we have a program that almost everybody gets qualified for, but some probably won't. And the way that program works is we do that Calvet VA loan that I love. You get 100% of your purchase price, 100% of the appraised value, 100% loan, 0 down out of your pocket. And then optionally, we may offer you a loan for up to 3% over the appraised value, up to 3% over the purchase price. That 3% over is to help you pay closing fees if a seller said, I'm not going to pay him. But what's really interesting about that extra 3% is there's no added on cost. It's at the same interest rate as the first loan. But that second loan is a 30-year loan, but payments are optional the first 10 years. Interest will accrue, but you don't have to make a payment every month. You can pay it off day 1. You can pay it off at any time, no prepayment penalty. But if you wanted to wait 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years for raises to catch up, for life to catch up before you started paying on that portion, you can. It's a very, very popular program. Okay, now let's talk about some other heroes. CalHAFA is on my slide, and I have to mention CalHAFA has a program out now that's called the California Dream for All program. Last year, this program was so popular, they went through about $300 million in 9 to 11 days, depending who you talk to. The program has been changed slightly this year. It's a little harder to get into it. It's basically an equity share. What they basically say, and it's not my program, it's CalHAFA. CalHAFA basically says, look, if you qualify for our program, we'll give you up to 20% down of the purchase price within limits. And then you'll finance 80%. So here, let's use an example. $500,000 purchase, you get $100,000 from CalHAFA, you get a $400,000 loan, you close escrow, you move in, you make payments on the $400,000 loan, you do pay the taxes and insurance on the whole property. But that down payment, no payment is required. You could stay there however long they allow you to, till you refinance or sell. And at that point, you give them back their 20% plus 15 to 20% equity appreciation, I believe. It's an interesting program. I call it a head scratcher because I want you to think about it. But their period for this loan started, I believe, on April 3rd or 2nd. And I think it ends April 27th. So if you want to get in an application for this, you've got like 4 or 5 days left, I think. So you might want to look into that program if you're thinking of buying. It's an interesting program. CalTAP also has some other programs that I think are very good when you're visiting their website. They have down payment assistance type loans where you can borrow some of the down payment. I think in general, they want to see at least 1% of your money into the deal, but it's their program, it's not mine. I recommend you look at them. Another program I really like is the Wish Grant program. Now, for this year, Wish Grant got raised a little bit. Basically, how this works is they want to incentivize you to save money to buy a home. And this is for everybody, civilians or veterans. Everybody can apply for this. You have to apply, you have to qualify, there's limits. And they say, look, for every dollar you save up to about $7,700, they'll match it in a 4-to-1 grant. So you could get about $30,000 grant to buy a home that after 5 years of living there, you don't have to pay it back. It's forgiven. This is a very good program, and I think everybody should include this when they're doing research. Look at that Wish Grant, see if you qualify, see if it's a good program for you, see if it matches your needs. The last program that I'm going to talk about generically is my favorite programs. These are mortgage assistance programs. And I recommend everybody, every veteran thinking about buying a home, call the city that you're going to buy in, call the county that you're going to buy in, ask for the housing department, and ask them this question. Do you have any down payment assistance type programs for me? Give them a chance to talk. Now, I often talk about my poster child for this program is Santa Ana, California, and Orange County. They offer up to $120,000 at 0% interest, and you don't have to pay it back for 45 years if you qualify. It's a fantastic loan. And I've talked about them a lot because they keep changing things. At one point, they changed it that a veteran from anywhere could apply for this loan. And this year, they changed it on February 15th. They said, veterans who use this program, qualify and use it, they'll forgive $10,000 of that loan that they made you. Every 5 years, you're in the property up to $40,000 forgiven. In my mind, it's sort of like they're paying you to buy the house, if you think of it that way. It's a great program. I highly recommend you call every county, every city you're thinking of buying and ask this question. And if you would for me, please ask them this somewhere in your talk. Hey, by the way, is this good for a veteran coming from anywhere? I'd like every county, every city just automatically to start allow veterans coming from anywhere to use their down payment assistance programs. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. If you want to apply for a Calvet loan, we've made it super simple. You just go to our webpage, calvet.ca.gov. You go to the home loans page, and there's a button that says apply now. You click on the apply now, and you'll fill out a very short, very easy application. It's really more of a, hey, here's how you get a hold of me. You'll fill it out in less than 2 minutes. I'm sure you will. You'll send it. You'll get an automatic response. Thanks for applying for your Calvet loan. Somebody will reach out to you within 48 hours, and they'll send you a secure link to upload your document, and they'll have a conversation with you. I would ask you to be gentle with them. They're very busy some days, especially Mondays. They can come in and have a lot of applications to go through, a lot of people to call, and they're still closing their loans out. They're very efficient. It's just we're kind of busy right now. Next slide, please. This is my direct contact information. I want to point out two things. My name, the last name, Pedersen, is spelled with all E's. If you put an O in there, I won't get it, and then you won't get a response. So please remember to put an E in there if you email me. And the 916-747-4137, it's actually just a cell phone. It's this cell phone. I have that with me. I don't mind calls. I actually appreciate calls. I'm better on the phone than I am typing. I just as soon you give me a call and talk to me. If you know somebody you think I can help in any way or has some questions, you don't have to ask my permission. You can give them my cell number. You can give them my email. I would love to help you on your path to home ownership. Thanks for letting me talk today, Derek. I appreciate it.
All right, Brad, thank you so much as always. Really appreciate all of your insight and information. Just really great and useful information for our veteran community. So thank you again so much. All right. Before we move forward, I just kind of want to touch base again and reiterate that this webinar is being recorded, and we'd be more than happy to share a copy of the slides. If you're asking, we can just drop that into the chat box, and then you can download a copy as well. And then the link to the recording will be placed on our website. Usually takes about a week to get uploaded, and as well as to our Calvet YouTube channel. And that's where you can go and view all of our webinars and workshops that we've hosted virtually. So you can always just circle back, follow our program, and find a topic that's relevant to your needs. And you can view all of our training workshops online as well. All right, so I would like to just kind of conclude with an overview of exactly what our program does here at Calvet. You've heard from Brad in relation to our home loans program, but Calvet and the CalTAP program, we also offer various services and benefits and just serve as a resource guide to you and your family members as well here in the state of California. So I'd like to just kind of end with an overview of our program and let you know about some of the work and services that Calvet has to offer. So just a little briefly about our program. As it says right there, it's designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras to their federal and state benefits. And we know that veterans' needs can change over time. So basically what we've done is we've created our Pathways program. So anything from basically just getting started, like VA Benefits 101. How do I enroll into VA healthcare? How do I file a claim for disability compensation? What exactly are my benefits federally and here in California at a state level? And I'll run through some of those here in the next few slides. Additionally, if you're planning on going back to school using your GI Bill or education benefits, if you're looking for employment, whether that's private sector employment or specifically working for the state of California, we have great training workshops and training modules for you to follow along as well to guide you through that process. If you're an entrepreneur, if you want to start and launch your own business, some of the benefits of being a veteran-owned business here in California, specifically about some of the certifications that you can get attached to your business in relation to government contracting services as well. All of that's great information for you as well. And service providers, if you work with, if you employ, if you're an advocate for veterans benefits and veterans affairs, we've designed a service provider pathway that kind of guides you through a cultural competency training of how to better provide these services to veterans in your communities. So all of this can be found on our website, and I'll show you how to navigate that as well. I'd also just kind of like to explain kind of the hierarchy of veteran services and benefits as well. So of course, most of all your VA benefits, right, they're going to come from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, right? But each state has its own state Veterans Affairs agency, and that's where Calvet comes in, just to serve as an advocate for all things benefits related here in the state of California, as well as administer some of our state programs here at a state level as well. We then also accredit all of the counties to file claims for benefits and services for veterans in their county, right? So we give the counties the accreditation, and each county has its own designated county veteran service office who offers a free service to all veterans to actually apply, certify, and submit your claim for benefits kind of up this chain of command all the way through a Calvet district office and then all the way to the federal VA for claims processing as well. Additionally, there are local nonprofit veteran service organizations such as DAV, American Legion, AMVETS as well, all great agencies that can also assist you with advocacy and processing of any claims or benefits. Basically, my recommendation, if you're planning on filing any type of claim or benefit with the VA, is to make sure that you're using an accredited veteran service representative that can advocate on your behalf to submit anything related to your VA claim. So just kind of the difference between Calvet and the VA. We get a lot of calls from veterans who think we're the VA. We're definitely here to assist, but we're, again, the state side of Veterans Affairs. When you look at the federal side, I kind of like to explain it kind of like three branches of government. You have your Veterans Healthcare Administration, who's responsible for all of your healthcare needs, your medical appointments, your VA clinics, your pharmacy services. You also have your Veterans Benefits Administration, who's responsible for your disability compensation, your education and training programs like your GI Bill or your vocational rehab, as it has a different name now, or your home loans eligibility, your certificates of eligibility, all processed through the Veterans Benefits side. And lastly, we have the National Cemetery Administration, who manages all of the end-of-life care and benefits and services for survivors and anything related to VA burial at a national cemetery as well. And then you have us. You have CalVet, the state program, and some programs we have here is our CalTAP program, our home loans program that you heard about. We also manage 3 state cemeteries here in the state, and some additional programs that we offer. So just wanted to kind of show you the difference between the federal VA and us here on the state side at CalVet. So this is kind of a new model that we've implemented, and we call this the Veterans Journey Map, or kind of like a life cycle map, right? So anything from your initial service to initially, joining the military, right? Preparing for military culture, kind of understanding the path ahead of once you serve, and then when you get out, what the next steps will be. So anything from financial literacy trainings to when you're about to separate active duty. If you're going to be taking that next step, whether it's going back to school, what exactly your benefits are, connecting with the VA, all the way through post-military life, which is finding a job, finding housing, again, financial courses, retirement planning, and all the way through to end-of-life care. So this journey map is really here to just say that CalTAP in our program is designed to assist you at any point during your journey. And we know not all veterans fall with any one key area. So our job here is to guide you. If you have questions or need assistance at any point of this journey, we can help you and guide you through the process. I'd also like to give a plug for our California Veterans Resource Book. This is a great tool to keep handy. If you don't have a hard copy, we're going to put a PDF version into that chat box to where you can download it and view it on your own time. This is a great tool. It basically covers all things VA benefits related from A to Z, basically all of the fine print eligibility detail for all of your federal benefits, state benefits, where your local office is, those VSOs that I mentioned, how to find them, how to connect with them. So please download this if you're able to. It's really just a great tool to take with you. I mentioned Finding Us Online, our program online, our CalTAP program, to kind of get started with some of those training modules. This is our main page, our CalVet page, and you can kind of see on those red icons right there. That's where you can find our CalTAP page, as well as kind of find additional resources and download our resource book on our website as well. But if we clicked on that CalTAP page right there in the middle, that would lead you to all of our training programs and our modules that I mentioned earlier. But for today's presentation, I just kind of wanted to do a quick overview specifically of some of those benefits that the state has to offer. So first and foremost, we offer our college tuition fee waiver program for veterans' dependents. This means if you are a disabled veteran with the VA and you have a rating, your dependent child or possibly spouse, if you're 100%, can attend any UC, CSU, or California Community College here in the state tuition free. It's a great benefit. It saves veterans, thousands of dollars a year in tuition costs for their family members. So do encourage you to either apply for your disability rating now, or if you have a disability rating, to visit a county veteran service office so they can certify this benefit for your child if they're planning on going to school. We have some DMV programs that we partner with DMV on. One is getting the word veteran printed on your driver's license. This just allows you to show your veteran status in the community, whether it's your local discounts, your hardware store benefits, your 10% off for things like that. It's just a way to show your veteran status without having to carry around your DD-214 everywhere you go. Motor vehicle registration fee waiver. If you're rated at 100% by the VA, a total rating, and you have some form of mobility impairment that a physician signs off on and says you are mobility impaired, you can apply through the DMV to get a disabled veteran's license plate. And having this license plate will then waive those registration fees for one vehicle. So again, 100% disabled with a mobility impairment, you can apply for this benefit. Recreational activities, hunting, fishing, and state parks passes. If you have a 50% rating, you can apply for reduced fees on your hunting and fishing licenses, as well as get a state parks pass that allows you free entry into all of the California state parks. Property tax exemption. If you're rated at 100%, you can apply through your county assessor's office for a exemption amount on your property. I think that exemption amount may differ from county to county based on assessed property values. But if you have a 100% rating, please apply through your county assessor's office to where you pay your property taxes, and they will process this exemption and attach it to your property. A great benefit as well. You've heard all about our Calvet Home Loans program today. Again, that's a really great program if you're interested in home ownership. We will put some contact information in the chat as well as have it towards the end of this slide deck, so that way you can reach out to Calvet if you're interested in anything that Brad had to say today. So thanks again for sharing that today, Brad. Our women's veterans and our minority veterans departments here at Calvet, they do a lot of great work in advocacy, outreach, and representation for some of our underserved veteran community here in the state of California. So anything from citizenship resources to network building, really great programs who do a lot of great, again, outreach and advocacy for our underserved veterans. Veterans homes. We operate 8 veterans homes here in the state. So these are long-term care facilities. Some have independent living all the way through skilled nursing facilities. So if that time of need does come for yourself or a friend or a family member and they're a veteran, they do have that eligibility for residency into a Calvet veterans home. And lastly, I told you we also operate 3 state cemeteries here in California. You may be familiar with the National VA Cemetery Administration, but Calvet on the state side operates 3. So again, if that time of need does come for yourself or a friend or a family member, please know that they have that eligibility as well. If you'd like to stay connected with us and kind of get plugged in to some of our trainings and workshops, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to have you sign up and attend. You can always email us at our email address, caltap@calvet. You can register on our website for a personal profile. You can always follow us along on our social media platforms, which will allow you to get plugged into our outreach and our newsletters. That way you can sign up for all of the webinars and workshops, whether they're virtual or in person, to really stay connected with us. Additionally, there will be a QR code displayed at the end of this presentation. It is a survey about today's presentation. We really value this feedback. It really helps us in tailoring these presentations to make sure that we're presenting, the most effective information for you. And it really does help us to kind of, mold and shape our program and our trainings going forward. So I'll leave that up there for a few minutes at the end. We do really encourage your participation in that survey. It really would go a long way. So thanks again. This is my personal contact information. My name is Derek Rose. You can always reach me by email is the best way. I'll share this again at the end, but I'll take all the time that's needed to maybe go over any questions that you had today. If you weren't able to get to your question directly, I'll take all the time that's needed to speak with you. Lastly, I'd like to turn it over to Marlene, who is our link for the Inland Empire region. And she's going to tell you about some local resources and all the great work that she does down there regionally. So Marlene, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Derek. Thanks for letting me talk to you today. I wanted to tell you about what we do as Links. Next slide. Links is a local interagency network coordinator. And what we do, there are 8 of us in the state. And we travel throughout our region. We meet with various different entities, and we kind of close gaps in services that veterans are experiencing. As you can tell by looking at the map, I drive a lot. And that's because my area is geographically diverse. However, there's just as many veterans in my entire region as in, say, like Orange County, a much smaller area. Next slide. That said, we reach out to service members, veterans, and their families, and we work with established service providers. This could be anything from the VA, at the regional level, or at the hospital, or at the vet centers, or any of the clinics. We also assist with local emergencies. And as you can tell from the map, like if my coworker calls out sick, I'm going to have to go to their area. Or if there's a natural disaster where there's too many LOCs for one staff member to cover, then another link will go and assist. But we also provide leadership and advocacy to the local communities. This can consist from anything with meetings to congressional members or secretaries, such as Secretary McDonough I met with twice last year, or even directors or at the regional level for the VBA or for the hospital directors. Many of them see me and I'm on a first name basis with them. I also know the chief of staff, that kind of thing. I've sat with veterans while they cried. I've helped them and advocated for them on a local level, as well as a federal and state level as well. Next. One of the things that we do is we try to connect the veteran to their benefits. This could be employment and training, like at the EDD or American Job Centers. I've got contacts at all of them in my district. At the county veteran service offices, at Calvet ourselves. We also help connect to benefits at the healthcare centers, the medical centers, the vet centers. I've had veterans say, hey, I could not get an appointment. And once I talked to you, I got that appointment and they were very happy. They said I saved their life or something. I was like, no, I just kind of gave them the push that they needed and get them to the right spot. Next slide. Well, this is my contact information should you have any further questions, and I will be available in the chat. Go ahead and leave that up to reach out. I'm not sure where that 916 number came from, and I should have caught that earlier, but that is definitely not my number. But I'll go ahead and give that out to you now, and I'll leave it in the chat. It's 442-242-5659. That is my work cell. Feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marlene. All right. So at this time, we do have a little bit of time to spare towards the end. I wanted to leave up everybody's contact information for one brief moment. So maybe if you pull out your phone, you can take a quick screenshot of everybody's info. I think Marlene, if you wanted to use that chat feature and hit the Everybody tab, you should be able to put in a good working phone number for you there as well. So with that, I do see that we do have some questions in our Q&A tab. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Jana, who's been holding us down on the back end. So Jana, I'm sure the ears were perking up during the presentation. So do we have any questions that we should go over today?
We do. So I was able to answer some of the questions, but Brad, if you're there, I'm going to probably be asking some that you'll be able to answer here. Okay. So the first question we have is going to be, does Calvet set loan interest rates?
So it's important to understand that federal VA does not set the interest rates, because actually today I had somebody asking me about that. Federal VA doesn't set the loan interest rates. The lenders all set their interest rates. I kind of usually explain it like banks, lenders are selling money. They can make it whatever price they sort of want to. And then they're, competing with each other. So yes, Calvet as a lender does set our interest rates for our different products. And there's different loan programs, like I mentioned. So they'll all have different interest rates, probably, depending on the veteran.
Great. Okay. So what if you have a VA loan and you need to move for a job because you got laid off? Do you have to be employed before you are qualified for a new CalVet loan to help you move to another area?
Yeah, basically, you have to qualify for a loan under the predatory loan guidelines. In other words, a lender can't make you a loan if you can't afford to make the payments back. We have to make sure when we qualify for somebody, and VA guidelines actually kind of comes into play too, that you can afford the payment. So if you don't have income, you can't qualify for a loan. So you're kind of going to have to get the job and go about the whole process. Got to have income to get a loan.
Okay. I tried to get a CalVet federal loan, but was unable to obtain because condo complex wasn't on the list. The CalVet officer said the list isn't comprehensive and very difficult to look through. Can you please advise?
Yeah, this is actually a very intelligent and a great question. So basically, condominium complexes, townhomes, whenever you're buying that kind of a property, it has to be on the approved VA list. And there is a list. It is kind of convoluted to search it. Your realtor is supposed to search it for you, is kind of the way this normally works. But what I always recommend you do is your realtor or yourself contact the homeowners association management company or the homeowners association if there's not a management company, and ask them directly, are these homes approved for VA or FHA? They will know, the management will know. If they're not approved, that's something that as a past real estate broker, I would often say, hey, that's a good thing for the realtor to step in and go, well, why not? You should get your condominium association approved, pay the cost to have an attorney draw it all up and ask for approval. And if you're able to get approval, it's probably going to raise the value of the properties because you're opening up the pool of buyers, more people that can make an offer. The prices are probably worth more. So it's a good argument. It's a good thing to do. And it is possible to buy one that's not approved and get it approved and then close. But that could take time. It just depends on, how things go with the homeowners association and everything. Good question, though. That's one that if you wanted to call me offline and chat about it more, I'd be happy to talk to you about it, or your agent.
Great. That is a really good question. Okay, so the next one is, does that equity share deduct the commission costs and other closing costs before calculating the equity remaining? Also,
So just to be super clear, it's not my program. I don't work for them. I just like the basic idea of it. Think people should check into it. I liked the program a lot more last year than this year. They definitely had made it more harder to get approved, harder to get in. But my understanding is that it would be based on the net equity. So if you bought something and 5 years down the road, you sold it and you made $300,000 and you had $50,000 in fees to make the 300, it's the 250 that they're talking. It's the net equity that I think they're going to use. But you need to look at their program. It's not mine, so I can't speak with great authority.
okay. The other half of that question, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, but it would be, what if the property goes down in value? What happens if the person in the equity share sells at a loss?
I don't know if this is laid out in the program. I have read through the whole program last year. I didn't read through it this year, honestly, completely. I read every page of it last year. I don't remember that being addressed, but I have had a personal experience as a real estate broker in a similar type of loan situation with a city that worked with the buyer. It basically became a negotiation. The buyer basically said, I've got to move. I've been good on all my payments. I don't have enough equity. I think you should take it on the chin with me. And the city agreed, and they did in that particular situation. So I guess I would answer that this is a negotiation that would probably take place. And we don't know the facts of the future negotiation, but that's the guess I would have.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm looking at the Dream for All online now, but it says one borrower must be a first generation home buyer. What does that mean?
So I think the program basically says that you can't have owned a property and their definition is different from most of these programs. First time buyer is 3 years. In other words, you could have owned a property 4 years ago, but now you don't. And so you could be considered a first time buyer. But for the California Dream for All, from what I've read, I briefly did read it, they're talking 7 years. So in the last 7 years, you can't have owned a property to be able to be considered a first-time buyer. I think this program goes one step further, though, and says that your parents, can't have owned a property the last 7 years. But it's not my program again, so you need to read the fine print with them and talk to them about it. But I think that's what they're saying, but I could be wrong, so please read the program.
Okay. Does Calvet approve manufactured homes? I understand that the feds do not approve those.
So there's different types of loans, and Calvet offers different types of loans. For instance, we will make loans in a mobile home park to somebody who has a mobile home, right? Now, that's not a VA-backed loan. VA doesn't guarantee it. We require a down payment on that loan. It's a different set of terms. Everything gets different, but we do those. One of the loans I kind of alluded to that I really like is we have the ability to do something kind of unique. Not many lenders, I don't know another lender doing it, to be honest. It's possible, it's not always for sure, but it's possible if you bought a newer mobile home, let's say, on a lot in a permanent-like manner that somebody else had done and got it county approved. There's a form, I think it's a 433A, that gets filed with the county. We will often look at that property as a single family residence and do that Calvet VA loan that I talked about. If you can find one of those, that's a fantastic deal because typically they're less expensive. You're getting, someone did the, all the work for you. They bought the lot, then they brought the mobile home on or the modular home on, then they had it attached in a permanent-like manner by pouring a plot. And now you come in and you get to buy it. And often when you're searching for those, you'll be able to have your realtor look and it will say SFR, single family residence, under the title type. And then that usually means we can do it, but it's always case by case. We got to look at it, look at the age and all that. I'm trying to talk fast. These can be long
Oh,
answers.
it's okay. It's all right. Okay, it looks like we have one more than a couple more little questions, but I think just about one more for you. So someone mentioned that you offered a lot of great information, but you didn't go over the current interest rates for the loans and or how the rates have been impacted by the new law regarding realtors' commission rates. And there's a second part of the question. Do you, maybe I'll read that. Do you want me to
Sure,
keep
go ahead and read it, then I
Okay.
kind of think.
No problem. Also, he mentioned modular homes, farmland, and other properties that Calvet will accept, but he didn't mention tiny homes. Would tiny homes fall under RV or how would that work?
Okay, so tiny homes probably wouldn't fall under RV if it's
Mhm.
attached in a permanent-like manner. The difficulty with tiny homes in general, when we use that definition, is that you can't get an appraisal. And if you can't get an appraisal, then you can't get a loan because they're looking for comparable sales in the area. I think
Okay.
that Calvet could be open to doing a tiny home loan, if we could get comparables that we could say, oh, here's 3 that were financed. But I think that's just doesn't happen. So I don't know of us doing any of them.
Okay.
As far as the RV, that is a personal property. We don't do personal property loans. As far as interest rates, I purposely did not mention interest rates because this is being recorded and will be set on the internet for life. And I have learned people will pull these up 3 months from now and call me and say, but you said the interest rate was this. So I don't really talk about interest rates in this type of forum. I do highly recommend, because understand your interest rate will change depending on your application and your profile, what you're doing. So I recommend you do an application. It's a very short process if you're thinking about buying a home, and they'll be able to actually tell you what your interest rate is. We actually have a unique feature. We even will lock for free for 90 days, which is not very normal. So I recommend that. I know that's not exactly what you want to hear. If you want to talk more about it, call me, and we'll chat about your situation a little bit more. And as far as the new law, I am really interested in this law. I'm really interested. It's not actually a law yet. It's a settlement. Supposedly, I guess the settlement, I think 2 days ago, was agreed on like verbally, but it doesn't get finished until November. But I think this is happening. It's going to happen in July. It will not affect interest rates for us will probably not be affected by this, but economy might be affected, which will then affect interest rates, right? It hasn't no direct effect on interest rates. But I'm very concerned for veterans because there's a loophole here. Right now, federal VA guidelines says a veteran cannot pay the buyer's representative commission. And I'm afraid that puts us at a disadvantage. So that's something that I'm working on. I actually have a whole plan on that, and I hope in July to come out and tell you some really interesting and exciting news about that. But it's all starting to get put together. Again, a good conversation offline to have with me. Okay.
Absolutely. And you guys, just so you know, Brad really encourages us to give out his contact number. He loves talking on the phone. So contact him and you can go through your personal situation. He can take care of that. So I think that's the last question I have for you right now, Brad. There were a couple other little questions about the PowerPoint slides. I put those up and I can do that again too, so it refreshes it. Also, if this recording was going to go up anywhere. So I answered a few of you, but it'll go up on our YouTube channel and also on our website, probably by next week sometime. And then also for the person that was asking about the college tuition fee waiver, so thank you for sending me your contact information, and I'll call you in the next probably 30-40 minutes or so once this is over, and we can go over your personal situation, talk about how you qualify. So I think that's pretty much it, Derek. I'll send it back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Shanna. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Marlene. Great questions, really intelligent and informed questions today. So great job by everyone. So I left this up here, this QR code for a few minutes. I hope you all had a chance to maybe pull out your phones and answer a few questions about today's event. We really appreciate that. But other than that, I just want to say thank you all again for joining us today. Thank you for your military service, whether you're a veteran or a family member or a friend or a provider. Thank you all again for allowing us to be here. Thank you to Steve Rush with Crafton Hills College for allowing us a platform to host today's presentation. If you have any questions about anything, please reach out to us. We're more than willing to talk you through anything that you learned today, as well as just connect with you going forward. So with that, we'll go ahead and say goodbye. Thank you all again and hope to see you all down the road. Take care.